Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing okay tonight. I know it's been a few days. I really wanted to come on Friday night, but I was so tired, and even last night. Well, there's a few new things in the Summer Wells case, so I thought, well, I'll come on and say hi to everybody, and we'll get into that. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Thank you for subscribing. I'm glad you're here. My name's Patty, and I like to talk about missing persons, missing children cases. And right now, I'm discussing Summer Wells. She's missing out of Rogersville, Tennessee. She's 6 years old, and she went missing when she was 5 on June 15th last year. Her mom says that she just went for a walk. Well, that's what they said on the police scanner, that she went for a walk. And when she came back, Summer was gone. And they did a big search, and the FBI and the TBI got all involved. They did an Amber Alert, they did billboards, and people been searching for her. But I don't believe she's alive. I believe they, are searching for a body. I don't mean to sound cold, but at this point, after this long, it's been 10 months since she's been missing. If you have any information, please call the TBI at 1-800-TBI. So now let's get into what's going on. So, Critters Down on the Farm or something like that, I think it's the name of her channel. She's a really nice lady, but she had Ziggy Valero on her channel. And Ziggy Valero is a friend of Candace's mother. Well, she had talked to Grandis. They got to be friends for about 3 months. They were talking, calling, texting each other. And this Candace's mom, Summer's grandma, told this friend of hers that Summer never got out of the vehicle, that she wasn't feeling good, and Candace told her mother that she called Don to see if he wanted her to take her to the hospital, and she took off and left with Summer. And then Candace was supposedly taking a nap, and then Candace came back and said that Summer was missing. So the news is the FBI came to this lady's house. She had turned this information in to the FBI quite a while ago, or TBI, and they just showed up to her house. And they took all her information, and so that's kind of a big deal that they came to her house, the FBI or TBI, and they wanted to know about this. So we'll see what happens there. But you know what, you guys? I just don't feel like that's what happened to Summer. Because think about this for a minute. Let's just think about it with common sense. I mean, it's not that it can be possible that that's what could have happened to Summer. But think about this. If Summer was just sick, if she just wasn't feeling good, or she didn't look good, why didn't they take her to the hospital? You would just take her to the hospital. You wouldn't get any trouble for that, for Summer being sick. So I have a really hard time believing that. I believe the lady that Grandis told her that, but like my husband said, it kind of sounds like Grandis is trying to distance herself from this. in any involvement in this. And I agree with him. I think, she could have just been giving her a story. Who knows? I'm glad the TBI or the FBI, whoever came there, I guess they were there for like 3 hours, so it was serious. And this was just like the day before yesterday. And so we'll see what happens, right? But I just feel like something else bad happened, because if she was just sick, why not take her to the hospital? Why risk all of this? I think it has everything to do, what happened to Summer has everything to do with Child Protective Services coming that day and SA, Child SA. And so, I've discussed all this already. Also, Candace, all kinds of stuff's going on with Ernie, Benny, Candace. Uh, I guess Ryan Upchurch was told people he would block her from coming into the concert because she was supposedly going to the concert. Well, come on. She needs to be in jail. I'm sorry. Because there's too much suspicion. So, uh, anyways, tonight, the subject that I'm going to talk about, because I believe this has everything to do with Summer being missing, is Child Protective Services and SA. And I just want to show you, I'm going to show you a little video, and I'm sure, if you've been following the Summer Wells case, you've seen this video, okay? It's no big deal. Candace Wells put this video out of Summer dancing in the rain, okay? And I'm just going to turn it on for a minute, just in case you don't know much about this case. This is just a little video that her mother took of Summer playing and dancing in the rain by a red barrel that says for sale. So here it is. Just going to show you this for a minute. Hold on. Get close so you can see. Okay. So I want you to keep that video in the back of your mind. And I want you to think about this, because I'm going to take you to something else right now. Isn't Summer adorable? She is so sweet. I wish I could have adopted her. I wish I would have knew what kind of circumstances she was in, because I would have adopted her and loved her. What a precious little girl. And I don't know, I just think she's a sweetheart. Um, it would be wonderful if she was found alive, right? And that maybe Don and Candace just hid her from Child Protective Services. But, you know, I don't know, that's a slim chance. Not the way uh, they believe she was dead already, and that they really stressed that they would see her in the resurrection, and they just believed she was gone and they could not get her back, and they didn't search for her. And they weren't all upset, because I believe they already accepted that she was gone, and that's a stage of grief that doesn't come right away. And so, anyways, I want to talk about this for a minute. Sexual abuse of children. it's so much more prevalent than it ever was, like when I was young. Um, I remember I was like, I think I was about 7, maybe 8 years old, and me and my little girlfriends who were at the same age, we would go down and we would go to this house, and it was an old man's house, and he had an old wagon wheel, like, like a wagon wheel from like an old carriage or a old, the pioneer wagons. Anyways, he had it up on this metal thing, and so it would spin. So all the neighborhood kids would love to get on there. And we'd put our feet in there and our hands, and we'd twirl upside down and we'd spin. And we loved that wheel. Well, the guy that lived there, his name was Andy. He was very sweet. And he would invite us in his house. And his wife seemed real crabby. She didn't like us there. But he would invite us to eat dinner there, and she would give us dinner. But he would take us fishing. He would buy us candy, chips, popcorn, whatever we wanted. But when we would get out fishing, he would ask me and my friends if he could hold us up while we went pee. Like hold us up in the air. And I never wanted to. I thought it was weird. But my girlfriends let him, hold them in the air. And this is a time too when we wore little dresses, little sundresses in the summer. So, but anyways, I had heard that he molested the neighbor girl, and I really do think he tried other things, but I can't remember because I was so little. I just know that he was weird. He was a pervert, and he was trying to molest little girls. And his wife didn't know what to say because people didn't talk about that back then. We did not say nothing to our mothers because why? That's so weird. We didn't know, we were innocent. So we just thought he was a weird guy, but he was nice and bought us chips and popcorn and candy and took us fishing. And I loved to fish, and I still love to fish. And my husband and I are looking forward to it. But anyways, tonight I just wanted to show you a few of these videos of um, some survivors of childhood sexual abuse and their stories. And they're so familiar. And if you think about it, you can really feel like this is in the Summer Wells case, because not only was Don showering with Summer, he was sleeping with Summer. And he also admitted to molesting his stepsister. And also, he's got like 7 other people that are bringing charges against him in Utah. So I really do believe that this has something to do with sexual abuse. Either they're trying to cover up what happened to her with protective services, something. So, anyways, let me just get to this. But I do believe that you can um, analyze some stories that you hear, and then you can think about the signs in this case, okay? So, under fair use, I'm just using, I just want to show you a couple clips from these videos. So, this is Emily's, she's talking here, but let me just listen to this for a minute here. Oh no. Okay. I only wanted you to hear a little bit about this. Okay. I thought I had it right, bro.
And if you truly want to get well, there is no. So, what was your experience with your father like?
He was not really present in my life very much before the age of 4 because my parents owned a clothing store. And so my mother and I lived together on the boardwalk in Ocean City, Maryland, and she did the retail end and ran the shop on the boardwalk. And my father lived in New York City and did the warehouse kind of merchandising and import export side. But it wasn't until my mother got pregnant with my younger sister, who's 4 years younger than me, that we all moved in together and we moved up to New Jersey to be closer to New York City. And shortly thereafter, was when he first sexually assaulted me. So I think from very early on, my relationship with him, or my view of him, and my feelings towards him were um, understanding enough to be scared of him and thought that he was very unpredictable. But the complicated thing with most people who sexually assault children who have a trusted relationship with them and are able to access their children repeatedly is, if they were violent towards those kids 100% of the time, that child probably would not maintain the silence and would end up telling somebody, right? And so they people who perpetrate that kind of violence against children really learn early on to manipulate those children into feeling obligated to love them or protect them at least.
Do you remember the first time that it happened?
I do. I do. He ended up telling me that it was exercise, and I ended up telling my mom. I guess I don't remember telling my mom the first time that he raped me, but she remembers that I told her that night or soon after, my dad touched me and I didn't like it. And I
This is
think,
when you were 4?
yeah, and I didn't have the language for rape because we don't raise children to understand all the ways that their bodies could be violated, right? And so I think that the result of that is I didn't know what exactly to say to my mom to describe what had happened. Like a lot of men who are sexually abusing one of their children, my dad was also really abusive to my mom. Um, but anyway, she ended up confronting him, and he said that he touched me and that he would never do it again. But he certainly didn't talk about rape or the extent of the violence. And I think what's difficult for me and that I have to negotiate in my relationship with my mom now is that she stayed with him.
At the end of the piece that you read there, you said that this changes you forever.
Okay. So I think she was really, I think all these women that come on here and they go and tell their stories, I think it's really amazing that they do and that they have the courage. And if you have experienced any kind of sexual abuse in your life, or even satanic ritual abuse, anything like that, as I share these videos, um, there's different groups that you can look at these um, videos surviving childhood abuse or child ritual sexual abuse. If you look them up, there's a whole bunch of programs that these stories are on that can help people and help you through your journey and to heal. And there is no shame. If you were, molested, it's not your fault. You were little. You didn't know what to do or how to handle that. We only know what we know. We can only do the best we can do with what information we have. And at such a young age, I mean, she's 4 years old when her dad raped her. So she didn't really understand. So let's go to this next one here. And for instance, the group that I see here is called NSPCC that she got into for healing and counseling. So listen to Emily's journey. And I gave you the wrong name.
Survivors Project together and
Oops.
really, chronologically having to
Um,
At home, I lived a childhood of survival. My dad was a very broken, scary person to me. The first time my dad sexually abused me, I was around 2 or 3. I have this really vivid memory of him coming up and telling my mum, "I'm going to read Emily a bedtime story." And I just remember looking at the book kind of in his hand, wishing his other hand was still holding the other page of the book and I was hearing the story. Do you remember this photo being taken?
Goodness, what
Same place, and
memory?
there's no socks. Stuff would happen in that shed. I spend most of my time thinking, when's the next place I'm going to be pounced on? He first raped me when I was 12. And it's not something you'd ever forget. I just started to shut down. I wasn't my own person anymore. I had two main fears that if I told anyone about it, I would maybe die, like he might kill me because he was that aggressive, or he might kill my mum. So I decided to sort of wear it and just try and get through it each time it happened, just blank out and then carry on my life as best I could. When I was 17, I had a laptop and
it's really just such a difficult subject, and I'm sorry, trigger warning. This is some graphic stuff that I'm showing you tonight. So, please, if you can't handle this kind of stuff or even want to hear about it, you know, uh, please, you can turn the channel. I won't be offended.
Myself with him because he would buy land, and he would do like really inappropriate things where I would be really scared to be around him. Fast forward to when I'm 20 years old, it was just my dad and I are driving to the mountains. So he was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and he took out a list, and the list was of what he did to me chronologically. So he went down the list and he said, when you were a baby and your mom would be at work, I would put my penis in your mouth. And well, you know how babies like to suck on things, like the bottle. And I asked him, why? And he said, I don't know. And so then I asked, would you ejaculate into my mouth when I was a baby and I would eat it? And he said yes. So then he kept going chronologically. So that's when I was a baby, like an infant. So then when I was 3 years old, he said that I would take a shower with him and he would be jacking off in the shower and that I would do it for him. And when he would ejaculate, I thought it was pee. He thought it was funny. So the list just went on. I asked him, why are you telling me this? And he said, because it's easier to go to the source than to pay $200 or $300 an hour to see a therapist. And so he just kept going on with his list, and I asked him if he was sexually abused by anyone, and he said no. He said he took a really bad fall on his bike when he was 19. He would ride like those long distance type bikes, and he fell really hard and hit his brain, but he said he was never abused. So it didn't really make sense to me. So then he continued. He's like, yeah, when I would talk to you on the phone when I was a kid or junior high, that he would be on the phone with me and like just talking about anything, and he would be jacking off while we're talking on the phone about school or whatever. And then he made this cassette tape with all these songs that he wrote. He said the song Taboo was about me. And I never really listened to the tape. I listened to some of it, but not all of it, because I just didn't like it. I didn't want to hear it. I always was uncomfortable around my dad. My sister was the one who wanted a dad. She was the one who cried for a dad, who wanted a daddy-daughter moment. I never really cared for him. I wasn't really excited
that he was back. I wasn't yearning for a dad the way my sister was. And I asked him, how do you feel about my sister? And he's like, well, I see her as a daughter, but I'm in love with you. And I was like, but we're the same blood. You're literally my dad. And then he said, yeah, I know. So now he went down his list chronologically, telling me everything he's ever wanted me to wear and all the things he's wanted to do to me and all the things he did do to me. And so then he said, well, there's one last thing. And I was like, okay, well, just tell me. You already told me all these incredibly horrible things. And he said, how much would you charge me if we were to go to a hotel right now for 3 or 4 hours and have sex? And I said, no way. Like, that's disgusting. You're my dad. I'm not going to have sex with you. He took me home.
Okay. We got to take a break and talk about this for a minute because, my God, you know, some things are just so triggering and so upsetting that it's very hard. So anybody that's watching this, we're just going to take a breath, breathe through our nose, and exhale out our mouth, because that's what you do when you're feeling really stressed and traumatized. You just take a deep breath in your nose and breathe out slowly from your mouth. And if you start getting triggered with post-traumatic stress disorder, tell yourself, this is a very good thing to remember. Tell yourself that I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe. I'm safe now. I'm not going to die. I'm safe. And it really does bring you back to the present when you're going through a traumatizing thing. I didn't really want to share these stories because, I really wrestled with it. Should I share them? But, this is how I feel. And there's one lady on here that it just shook me up last night. I was so traumatized. But listen, I feel like if somebody can be brave enough to tell their story and suffer through all the things they did, I can at least listen to them. I can at least listen to their stories and remember and make other people aware that this goes on. And there's so many victims, okay? Every day there's victims of child sexual abuse. So please be aware of what's going on around you. So now I'm going to take you to the next person because I don't have time to do the whole video, but with everything, this one was quite disturbing. So I'm going to let you hear this. Hold on.
Not going right.
Oh, I'm in the wrong one.
Who was sexually abusing me. And
sorry. This girl's name is Elizabeth Frazier. So, and she is on the Ed Milet channel, I guess, here. I've never heard of it, but I want you to hear part of her story.
Tragedy and made it a triumph, made it her test as her testimony. It's the greatest testimony ever. But you guys, I just want you all to understand the level of guilt and shame. When you stop something, one other thing.
I thought I had it at the right exact spot. I'm sorry. Of course, I don't. One of these days, I'm going to get my life together, One of these days, I'm going to have it together, okay?
At 4 years old is my very first memory of being sexually trafficked by my parents. I thought I was special. I didn't realize how awful what was happening it was until I was honestly in probably high school.
This is the channel.
Welcome back to Max Out, everybody. Today is an adult topic, although I think you want to share this show if you're comfortable with young people that you care about. I just want to let you know in advance, we're going to be talking about some pretty adult things today. And our topic today is going to be something that has become more and more near and dear to my heart, which is sex trafficking and child trafficking in general as well. And I was at a speech, everybody, many years ago. I was giving a speech, and there was a woman. Usually when I'm in the green,
I gotta just kind of fast forward. Sorry, Ed, but I gotta fast forward to save time, a little bit of time. And I would recommend that you go watch the full video that I showed you. Okay.
Looks for people. So let's start out with you, at least at 4 years old. Take us into your life at 4 years old, and maybe even before. I think it's going to blow people's minds. So go ahead.
At 4 years old is my very first memory of being sexually trafficked by my parents. And I know before that I was groomed because I knew exactly what was expected of me and what to do and perform at 4 years old. So being raised in a way that trafficking is normal in my home made me, I thought I was special. I didn't realize how awful what was happening it was until I was honestly in probably high school. And I really started realizing the grasp of it and knowing how awful it was. I mean, I just thought I was so special because I got to do these things, and I couldn't tell anybody because they wouldn't understand because they're not special like me. And when you're a child, you believe what your parents tell you. So I really did think, okay, I am special, and this is I've got to do this because I am so special.
What was the memory that you remember first from being 4 years old that tells you at least you're being prepared before that time? Is there a particular situation that stands out that you can, in your mind, see or feel in your spirit right now?
Yeah, I drove up with my mom actually, and we pulled in front of this big yellow Motel 8 sign, and I knew she told me which door to go knock on, and so I went over by myself and knocked on this door and was let in, and had been kind of explained what was expected of me when I went in that room, and they were sexual acts. And then when I was finished, I was handed an envelope, and I went back out to the car, and my mom put it in her magazine, just folded it up, and we drove home. And that was the first memory of my normal for over 20 years.
God bless you. I just, as a father of a daughter, the idea of a parent putting their child in that type of situation, I know for so many people listening to this, is unconscionable. This just is a human being, even if I didn't have children.
Yeah.
And as everyone, as you're listening to this, realize that this is happening so much more in our country, in the world, than you realize. Not always at 4 years old, not always from parents introducing young women into this, but it's happening far more than we realize. And when I started to look at the data and hear the stories of how many young girls are being affected by this and abused in this way, it's heart-wrenching. It's something we must bring attention to. And yours is obviously one of the more, extreme cases. And so you're saying this began to feel normal to you, almost like you were special because that's what you were being told. There wasn't a part of you that as you were behind these damn doors with these men at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, were you scared? Were you fearful? Were you, knowing what was happening somewhere in your heart was wrong? Or was it just 100% you were special and you were sort of destined to do this? Or was it both?
No, as I got older, I knew I hated it. I knew I didn't like it. But we already lived in a nice neighborhood. We weren't poor. It wasn't, you would drive through my neighborhood and have no idea what was going on. So, and I appreciate that you bring that.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about that for a minute. So, I don't want to think that Summer could be trafficked, but it's a very big possibility. Another thing I want to share from when I was young, next door, my neighbor next door, there was always people moving in and out of this really ugly, junky house, stinky, ugly looking, but there were always these people moving in and out, different ones. Well, one time for about a year or two, this lady, her husband, and her kids, I think she had 3 girls and a boy. Well, I know they used to tell me that they used to watch their mom and dad have sex. And I thought, wow, that's sick, that's gross. But I didn't say nothing to my parents. I didn't tell anybody. Because how, you didn't talk about that stuff back in my day. You know, I'm 60 years old. And so we didn't talk about these kind of things. Well, then I seen her mom and dad take her uptown, some of the girls uptown, and drop them off at the bar. And then, like, a Mexican guy would pick them up and take them out for a while and then bring them back to the bar. And then their mom would go pick them up. It was so insane, but I didn't really pick up on it until I got older and realized what was happening. I didn't know why this mother would take her kids, her daughters who were like teenagers, like I think they were 12, 13 years old. Why, that she would take them to the bar. They weren't old enough to go to the bar. And then men taking them places. So I think she was making money and prostituting out her kids. And I know that they would have these big parties there with all these bikers would come there, and so it was really sad, and the girls were very promiscuous. I remember that some of the kids from school and around the town, like, they all had sex with her on the school bus, and she liked it, and it was so sad because she was young. So you knew that she'd been abused for quite a long time. But this kind of stuff happens and you don't even realize it. So it could very well be that Summer was trafficked. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. And like she said, you wouldn't even know we were in a nice neighborhood. We had a nice family. We weren't poor. So why her mother was trafficking her and her mom and dad were trafficking her, I have no idea. So, let me see. We can go to the next one. Um, I'm not sure. Hopefully, I can find it. It won't be too bad. As I said, it's very triggering, and very upsetting. And so, you know, please be warned that some of this stuff's graphic, okay? So here we go with this lady. Her name's Lisa.
And that I was asking for it or leading him on.
I thought I had it to the spot. Of course I didn't.
This was a challenging talk to.
Now I'm going to turn it down just a little bit because it's real loud. Oh, when my furnace came on, because I had the window open, and when it turns on, you can't hear this.
To help you understand my perspective, I live my life in different rooms in my head. I recently realized this through.
For sake of time, I'm just fast forwarding. I appreciate her story, and you can
Playing
watch
on the
it.
bed, and then a strange look came over him, and he sexually abused me. I remember the pain and feeling very confused.
Sorry.
So this was the fake room of happiness that I would try to make myself believe. As you guessed, there was more going on. I am the eldest of 4 children. I was born through an affair. My mother had to go back to work when I was 6 weeks old, so I was put in daycare. My father was still living with his first wife. He would come and visit my mother and I. One of the times my father was taking care of me, we were playing on the bed, and then a strange look came over him, and he sexually abused me. I remember the pain and feeling very confused. Right after, he put me in the closet. It was dark, I was scared, I was also bleeding. He came and took me out of the closet and cleaned me up. My mother came home later, and I remember telling her that I hurt. My father brushed it aside and said I bumped into the coffee table while playing. I was about 4 years old. My parents got married when I was 6, and my sister was 2 years old, and soon after, my 2 brothers were born. As I got older, the abuse got worse. More would happen when my parents were at odds and my mother was not talking to my father or would lock him out of the room. There were many times my father would come up to my room late at night, wake me up, and ask me to come downstairs. I was scared of disobeying him, so I would go. If I were to fall asleep, he would come back. This was also the time I was introduced to porn movies, which would lead to more abuse. My father would talk to me and try to get me involved in the sexual act. He would try telling me what to do and compliment me if I pleased him. This would make me feel awful. Fondling would happen while we were watching movies with my siblings. I would struggle quietly, but I was scared of upsetting my father. Being home alone with my father was terrible. I would beg my mother to go out with her, but my father would make an excuse on why I should stay home. I was also punished when I locked the bathroom door. The last 4 or 5 months at home, I got my own room. I was excited. What I didn't anticipate was that a door could be locked. I would wake up at times to being abused. There was not a safe place in my house. There were times that my father was very forceful if I didn't cooperate, but the times he was calm, trying to make me participate, was worse. It made me feel like it was my fault and that I was asking for it or leading him on. My father would take me out and apologize for what he was doing, even show me in the Bible where it was wrong. He would tell me it would not happen again and ask for my forgiveness. But some months later, it would start again. He would never phrase it as abuse. He would just say he was sorry. He said it was wrong, but I didn't fully understand what that meant. There were some people that found out about the abuse. They would confront my father, but he would talk his way out of it.
Now, this reminds me of something else with Summerwell's father. When he came on Chris McDonough in the interview room on his show, when he did his video, Don admitted that he played with his sister, and he said that she led him on, that she's the one who started it, and she's the one who put, she put her hand in his pants. And I don't believe that for a minute. But see, that she initiated it. See, they always blame the victim. Okay. Whoops. Hit the wrong button. Sorry. Of course. Sorry about that. I'll be right back in there, okay? This one was not very good either. This one was Michelle Anderson.
Sex with you. He took me home, and then
I think I already showed you that one. I believe I did. I'm not sure. But I hope I did, because that one was very important. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I did show you. I'm just making sure that I didn't miss an important one that I thought that I had gone through, and I wanted to make sure that you seen it. It's very hard, I know, and I'm sorry, this is. I know I gotta go down just like a couple more. Okay. Oh, I already went to, wait, I think I already looked at it. The one that I wanted to show you there. I'm pretty sure. Okay. I don't know if we're going to be able to handle this one or if I'm going to be able to keep, if the video is going to keep going. But I wanted to show you one more. And this one's really bad because this woman, her parents, her mother, not her father, but her mother was trafficking her, and she was this woman was sexually ritually abused. Well, I'm only going to share part of it. It is so triggering and traumatizing that I could barely handle it. So if somebody's a victim on here, they might not be able to handle it at all. So I'm just giving you fair warning before I turn it on. I mean, even I, like I said, had a hard time, like I had to take some breaths because it was really bad, and I'm not a sexual abuse survivor, but I'm a child
And courageous.
traumatic
She has gone through
child abuse
unimaginable
survivor.
suffering from a very
Okay.
My mother was a very controlling person. My father was a very controlling person, and it didn't work out very well. The divorce was caused in part by the fact that my mother wanted to go back to work. She did not want to stay home with another kid, especially not another girl. She was very disappointed that I had not turned out to be a boy. But I guess she had to get over that somehow. But she enrolled me in a preschool. And at the preschool, I was identified as being adaptable or acceptable for the cult ritual abuse. They wanted children who were very compliant, who were very much people pleasers, who wanted to always be good, and that fit me to a T.
They were also, if I understand this correctly, they look for children that are very strong, that their spirits are strong and can't be broken very easily.
I don't think they look for that. I think they look for children whose spirits they think they can break.
Okay, excuse me then.
Yeah.
Okay. Just strong enough to not break, though.
Hopefully.
Right.
Yes.
So they.
Yeah.
So they hope.
But in the process of deciding who is acceptable, there is a long grooming process where both the child and the parent have to participate. For me, I had to do an initiation, which I will read to you.
But when they're looking for the children that fit the bill,
Hypnosis. I was very hypnotic, I still am.
Sorry.
And they took me to a doctor's office and made me stare at a spiral, and I was gone. And that sort of easy hypnosis was crucial to the development of multiple personalities, because that's where personalities would go. I'd like to read you the first story.
She had to write stories to get it out instead of just talking about it. So, trigger warning, this is her first story, and that's all we're going to go through. But I recommend you go listen to the whole video.
Yeah, I'll read. Socks is a story about my first pet, and I am very animal oriented. I really like animals, often more than people, but that's not the point. Okay, I'm going to read to you a story called Socks. I was 3 years old, and it happened in Anaheim, California. We got kittens when I was 3 and Susan was 5. She called hers Puss, and I wanted to call mine Socks, not Boots like in the story. So I called her Socks anyway. One night I heard the kittens crying, so I got up. I saw Mommy pushing aspirin way down their throats. She did it by sticking her finger with the aspirin down the throat. The kitten Puss gagged and struggled. I held Socks and told Mommy not to give Socks any pills, but she insisted and grabbed her from me. She told me cat fever was going around the neighborhood and this would keep it from getting it because aspirin lowers fevers. The next morning after Susan left for school, I wanted to see Socks. Mommy said fine and got my dead kitten out of the trash. I held her and cried. I knew it was the pills. She said it was kitten fever. I said it was the pills. Then she said, okay, if the pills killed her, then if we get them out, she'll be fine. It made sense to me because I was only 3. Mommy took newspapers and covered the Formica table with it. It had an aluminum edge with ridges. Then she got out her good knives, the sharp ones I wasn't supposed to touch. Then she started cutting Socks all down her tummy and pulled her skin back. Then she cut her some more, saying over and over, you wanted me to get the pills out. This is the only way. She kept cutting her tummy until she found her stomach with the pills. She asked me, do I want the pills out? She told me to stop blubbering and help because Socks's blood was dripping over the edge of the table.
So her mom traumatizes her by cutting open her kitten. And this reminds me, I'm sorry, not the cutting open, but animal abuse. But this was to groom her and get her ready for satanic abuse and cutting people open.
I just wanted Socks back. She was a good kitten yesterday, but today she made a big mess because I wanted her to be alive. Mommy wrapped her in newspaper. I wanted to hold her. She was still dripping and everything made Mommy madder.
Sorry, but that is such a sick, sad story, but that's not the one I want you to hear.
So we met him in the parking lot of
Okay, we're going to go back just a little because I went too far, but this is the one I needed you to hear.
So she got her envelope with her money.
Whoops, sorry, went too far.
Remind me of all the important things she had.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Just strong enough to not break, though.
Hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Went too far.
Socks is a story about my
principal.
The principal.
Correct.
Yeah,
Principal
that is right.
of the preschool.
Yes. One way that they tested me during this period was in terms of my sexual abilities. And I'm going to read you a story now called The Three-Way Mirrors, and it was done when I was 3.5.
Trigger warning, this is bad.
Yes.
Trigger warning.
This was the first time Nancy was violated when she was 3.
Yeah.
You just said that. I just want them to understand this is the first time.
Yes.
At the age of 3.
Boy, was I excited. It was our special day. I got to spend alone with Mommy, just us. I get to help my mommy and my family, and that is quite special when you're only 4. I get to be Mommy's special helper, and we might even get ice cream. Last night before my bath, she gave me an enema so I would be clean inside and out. She told me it was really important to be clean in body and spirit. With my hair washed after the spray to make it look blonder like a movie star, I was ready for bed. She laid out my clothes for the morning. My favorite twirly dress was hanging on the doorknob on the chair with panties and socks. Underneath Susan's Mary Janes, which she had outgrown. She even cuddled me. She lay down on the bed and started to remind me of all the important things she had all the important things to remember tomorrow. There were lots of rules, but they sounded easy and like stuff I would do anyway. 1, smile. 2, say yes, never no. 3, be nice. 4, say thank you. 5, I'm lucky to get to help my family. 6, be loyal. Don't ever tell anyone. Never cry. 8, don't make a big deal out of it. Lots of little girls have bad dreams. Nothing happened in case anyone, especially Mommy, ever asks. Smile, be nice, say please and thank you. Never cry and don't tell. If I could do those really easy things for her, she would make me a promise that I would always be safe in my own bed. That was really important to me since I was having so many bad dreams. I said, yes, Mommy, I will. She hugged me and kissed me on the forehead and told me I was a special and wonderful child. Closing the door, she said, sleep tight, and went into the kitchen. I heard her tell someone on the phone she really needed a drink. In the morning, she sounded so chipper and happy, like the baby birds in our backyard. They had only hatched last week, but would soon fly away. I wanted frosted flakes for breakfast. Mommy said no, we would eat after. So I went in my room to get all dressed up for our special day. Mommy said there was a surprise in my room. I got new underpants. I never got new ones, and they fit, staying up without my holding them. I usually got Susan's hand-me-down, so this was really exciting. Mommy was getting ready in her room. We both looked really pretty, and even she said so. We were going to the brand new department store where Mommy would be working as a buyer in her own department. Wasn't that wonderful? I don't think I had ever seen her so excited. It wasn't a long ride, so she let me sit in the front seat. When we got there, it was bright and hot outside. The parking lot was so new it didn't even have lines yet. It was so hot the ground had waves of heat coming up. We went to a door on the side of the brand new Broadway. Mommy knocked and we waited. It was hot. A man came and let us in. Mommy told me to call in the doctor. I wondered what a doctor was doing in a store. It was really dark inside and dusty too. The doctor said we have to walk up the escalator, but not to worry, he had a flashlight. We went up the escalator and Mommy showed me where the department was going to be. It was big and dark and cool, and nobody else was there. It felt sort of spooky. The doctor said he would take it from there and for Mommy to come back in 45 minutes. She said, "See you later," and then she giggled. Then she turned to me and said I needed to be sure to remember all the rules. She asked me which one I was forgetting, so I remembered to smile, a big one too. He told me to follow him, so I tried to keep up. It was a long, dark hall with lots of little doors going into little rooms with mirrors. I reached up to take his hand. He walked fast, dropped my hand, and told me just to follow him. We got to the last room, which was bigger with the window way up high. The doctor said, "Here we have natural light." We did too. It streamed in the window and off the mirror, reflecting the room. It had a chair and a really big mirror that would fold around you. The mirror was so nice. He folded it around me and I could see the back of my dress. Closed all the way were lots of me's, some closer, some further away. I couldn't count them all, but we all had to practice smiling. We all smiled just the same.
She's seen herself in the
And
mirror.
sat down on the chair. He wanted me to twirl for him. Mommy must have told him it was my twirly dress. I did, and he smiled at me. It was a creepy smile that made my stomach feel sick. He told me to come again and stand in front of him. I did. He took off my underpants and had me twirl again. Then he took his tail out of his pants. "Do you want to play with it?" he asked. I forgot and just said no. He said, "Fine, it's time to get down to business anyway." His tail got really big when he played with it. He told me to assume the position. I had no idea what he meant, so he pulled me over on his lap and put jelly on my bottom. Then he scooted the chair up really close to the mirror. He closed the other two around us. I looked to make sure I was still smiling, although all I wanted to do was throw up. I couldn't help the snot running down my face. He lifted me up by my waist so we both could see in the mirror. Then he stuck his tail in my bottom. I couldn't help the tears. With each push, I wanted more and more not to be the Nancy here, not to be the Nancy with his tail in my bottom. I wanted to be one of the Nancys far away in the mirror. He told me, "You need to see this." He wanted me to see what it looked like to have his tail inside my bottom. I saw it. It was ugly. I started to cry more, but I never stopped smiling because I wanted to keep my promise to Mommy. He grabbed me tight and shoved it hard into me, his face looking fierce and scary. There were lots of those in the mirror too. He pulled his tail out of me and wiped it on my dress. Telling me to put on my panties now, we had to hurry up. He led me back down the hall, through Mommy's department, down the escalator, and to the side door. I heard a lot, and my new panties were getting all messy. Then he opened the side door. The sun blinded me after the dark store. Mommy came over and told me to get in the back seat of the car. Sliding across the hot car seat, I could hear Mommy ask him how I did. He handed her an envelope and replied, "She'll do." She got in the driver's seat and slammed the door shut. Then she said, "That's okay, sweetie. I'm sure you did your best," in her business voice. I told her I kept smiling over and over until I started to sob. Either she didn't care or she was so wrapped up in her own thoughts she didn't hear me. I had a long bath. Mommy put oatmeal in it. It did make my bottom feel better. Mommy smashed some pills between 2 spoons, and I had to eat the powder. It was bitter, but it helped me sleep through my bad dreams. I got to have a bowl of frosted flakes, my favorite kind, and Mommy let me take a nap on her bed, but I had to have a towel under me so I didn't make a mess. She laid down beside me, stroking hair away from my forehead, and sang me her favorite song, "Good Night, Irene, I'll see you in my dreams." She sang several rounds, then told me that everybody thinks their dreams are real, but they're only dreams. Sometimes little girls can make that mistake too, thinking their dreams are real. When she asked me as I fell asleep what happened, "Nothing," I'd reply, and she'd rub my back. We would play this game for a long time. All I had to do was say nothing over and over.
Okay, that's it. But that was more than enough. I'm sorry. I think it's really hard to listen to it. But you know, this Nancy, this poor little girl, when she was a little girl to have to endure that, and that's not the only thing. It's horrible. She actually died 3 times. She was sodomized so bad that they broke her hip. She had to be stitched up, her whole bottom. And they did all kinds of weird things to her. But here's the thing, her mother was selling her and making money off her. And, you know, these guys were a bunch of, some of them were satanic worshipers and weird freaks. But the thing is that most importantly, was that the mother was getting money for the abuse of this little girl, pimping her out, trafficking her out to people. And it's so upsetting, it really is, to even hear this kind of stuff, that this goes on. And this goes on more than you even know. And so, which brings me all the way to this point. And the barrel. It really bothered me when I seen her dancing in front of that barrel. And it really bothered me that she had on her twirly dress and somebody was coaching her to dance around. And so when I think about those things, when I think about the fact that Don's family said that he actually did try to sell his child to some drug dealers for drugs. His first child or second child, I don't know which one it was. But, you know, there's so much abuse in that home that it would be very surprising that Summer was not sexually abused, or the boys. And it doesn't mean that just the father has to do it. If you see, you know, from some of these stories that I've played for you, these survivor stories, they are letting you know that mothers do it too. They sell their children, they molest their children, they do all kinds of things. But this is called, the video that you've seen is called An Honest Account of Satanic Cult Ritual Abuse in Los Angeles in the 1950s. This happened to her. And the channel's called the Aquarian Collective. And I'm just showing this for educational purposes only and to spread awareness. And also to let you know that any of these things, any of this could have happened to somewhere else. I really am having a hard time. Everybody is talking about, well, you know, Summer now, this story from this lady that, Summer was sick. It could just be that the grandma's just spreading the story. I mean, it could be real, but it's hard for me to believe. I think that they did something bad to her. And that's my gut feeling. And only my opinion. But yeah, it's hard for me to buy that story. Given everything that we've seen. I mean, where they must have been dealing drugs to be able to get that fancy of a car. And I don't think Don even claimed, I think he was working under the table. So I don't think he could have even got a loan for that. And if he did, I don't know how, unless someone co-signed for him. But I have a feeling that he made cash, dealing drugs. And Child Protective Services was coming over to that house for a reason. And so I just think that's part of the case. And I want you just to think about that too. If you get a chance, go look at these survivor stories and you'll see, so many similarities. A twirly dress, had to dance for others. Also, this woman, not only did she die 3 times, she ended up killing 2 of her abusers. And also, she ended up going to college and being an amazing, a teacher and a spokesperson. But they also did an abortion on her, a child sacrifice abortion. And they made her kill someone. Well, her mother hit someone with the car, and then this guy killed him and cut him up in pieces, and she had to be there and be a part of this. It's so horrible, the things she endured. And I don't think Candace and Don were into satanic stuff, so I'm not saying that they did anything like that. I'm just saying that this girl's mother trafficked her out a lot. And so did a lot of these other girls. And it's really sad. And also the similarities that Summer was 5 years old and most of these girls were 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old when the abuse started. And I wouldn't doubt if Summer's been abused since she was a baby. I wouldn't doubt it at all. And so, anyways, I'm really sad. I hope that if that's the case, if she was sick, I hope we find out. If it's not the case, I just have a feeling that something bad happened to her. And I hope we find something out soon. Man, it's nice to know, though, it was good to hear that the FBI or the TBI was there for like 3 hours. So they are taking notice of this case. They are doing stuff. So, and another similarity, the one girl also said on here that she would have to shower with her dad. And, masturbate him while he was in the shower. And that bothers me too, because Summers was so little and she would just be, her head would be right where his crotch would be. And that is not good for a little girl to see a grown man's penis. I'm sorry. Oh, also, this same lady, this Nancy, that was in this, being sold that I just showed you, she also, they made her do snuff films. And that's why she died 3 times. Because they actually killed her. And they had to bring her back to life. And they sewed her up so many times. I'm amazed that she even made it through. I'm amazed that some people have such strength to get through this. I'm really an advocate for women domestic abuse, for child trafficking, for child abuse. I am an advocate all the way. You will always hear me speaking out about it. And I don't really care if it offends anyone. Because this is a little girl. These are children. These are vulnerable victims that didn't do anything to deserve what happened to them. And I hope Summer Wells gets justice. And I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more things and find out when this case is finally solved. I have a feeling it's a lot bigger than we think. And there's more terrible things involved with abuse with Summer. Anyways, I know my videos aren't very exciting to some because they want to hear everything that's going on. But I'm not really into these channels that, I was really mad when I heard about the dead dog, the dead puppy at Candace's house. Well, Candace hasn't been home and she doesn't take care of her animals very well. And we do know that. But it's pretty bad. It is pretty bad if a YouTube creator will drive by a dead dog and get upset about it, but yet run and make a video about it. Why didn't you just, grab a piece of paper so that you're not touching the dog, or a glove, and pick up that dog and move it over into the bushes and give it like a little burial at least? Why would you call the dog the Humane Society? I live in the country. Animals die all the time. I don't call the dog pound. I don't call, the DNR if I see a deer on the road. Come on. And why do you have to do a video about it? And why would people harass the Dog Humane Society? What in the heck is wrong with people doing this stuff? So many people calling the sheriff's office. So many people doing such stupid things. And mostly it's that one lady, Bullhorn Betty and Jonathan and all these people that are doing these, Jonathan Lee Riches, I think his name is. It's all these people that are acting like crazy nuts. If they're not protesting, they're calling the cops for everything in TBI. And it's wrong, and they're making everybody look stupid. So, anyways, don't be foolish. So, I'm not into that stuff. I'm only going to share with you things that might be important in the Summer Wells case, and that's it. I don't get into that drama stuff. I don't get into the gossip and the rumors. It's stupid. So, if I don't have something that I can back it up, I'm not going to tell you it. So, I'll tell you what somebody else said, but, it's just ridiculous how this case has gotten to be. So anyways, that's it. I didn't mean to make this so long, but I hope everybody has a great week, that you've had a great day today. And just know that I love everyone. I thank you for listening. I hope you'll like my video. Please like and subscribe and share. Okay, you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.